For any ski patrol, but particularly for a smaller ski patrol with a limited number of patrollers on the hill at any time, the ability to self-evacuate off a stalled lift is critical. One of the key components of the system that lets you do this is your harness. Although commercial harnesses are perfectly acceptable, on the Herman Mountain Ski Patrol, the only tied seat harness that we use is the Swiss seat. There's a number of ways to do this, so this video will teach you the approved method for tying a Swiss seat for use in the Herman Mountain Ski Patrol. Our Swiss seat is made out of 20 feet of webbing, or webbing cut to the appropriate length for your waist size. We start by finding the middle of the webbing by putting the ends together, following it along, and locating the middle. We want the webbing knot to end up on our side away from where our rappel hand is. So I'm right-handed. I place the middle against my left hip, left side of my waist, and I bring the ends of the webbing around. I am now going to cross the webbing twice. So I'm essentially making 2 rolls in the webbing to secure it around my waist. When I pull that tight, it won't slip. That holds it fairly well. Now I take one end of the webbing, the right end, and I pass it between my legs and bring it around the right side of my bottom. That forms the first leg loop. I pass it underneath the webbing that's around my waist, and I pull it all the way through. So you can see it's underneath. I now take the running end of the webbing and pass it underneath the strap that formed my leg loop. And look, I've made a small loop. I pass the running end through, and I'm basically tying an overhand knot around the waist strap. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the left. Pull it through. I make sure it's well seated along the crease between my leg and my bottom so it doesn't slip. Again, I come underneath the waist belt part of the webbing. I pass underneath and backwards the strap around my leg, and now I pull it forward through the bite, and again I've just tied another overhand knot around my waist belt webbing, and now I pull it forward. You want to tie them back fairly far because there's going to be a lot of slop when you're doing this seated in a chair. Now I want to make my tie-in point as secure as possible, so I take my running ends of my webbing and I loop them through the original tie-in point that I made when I crossed my waist belt webbing twice. So that secures that area. And that gives me a nice secure tie-in to attach. Now I have a short length of webbing and a long length of webbing, because remember, I started this offset. So I bring the short length of webbing around my back. Now I'm holding that in my left hand. Now I pass the long length of webbing around once again. That makes a second belt. So that's another loop around my waist. And now you can see the ends are almost the same length. So I've got a right and a left, and I'm going to do a square knot. So I go right over left, loop it around, just like I did in the beginning. Now I've got a left and a right, and I put the left over the right, come up from the bottom and through. That's a square knot. Now a square knot can tip or flip over and come apart. So I want to back it up by tying another overhand knot around all the strands that make up my waist belt. So I bring it around, tie another overhand knot, one in the front, one in the back with both of my ends, and now that's a very secure loop. Now I take my beaner and my descent device and I grab all of the loops, the attachment point and the additional waist belts, and I clip, tighten it, and I'm ready to go.